So the other day, one of my wife's girlfriends was talking to her about her and a man communicating, and it's a story that I kind of see repeating itself over and over in relationships. A lot of women talk about this when they try to get their man to communicate, how he just kind of shuts down instead. So she was saying, even just starting simple things throughout the day, like when he first gets home at work. As a woman, your first instinct is to what? Ask him, how's your day? How's work been? What'd you do today? And she was talking about how she tends to just get these one word or one phrase answers. Just, it was good. It was all right. It was work. And then he just moves on and just goes and shuts down and typically disappears until it's dinner time. Comes out, it's kind of like that through dinner, gives one word answers to people. He's just kind of in his own little world. She was saying what's worse is that anytime some issue arises that she tries to work out with him, it's like essentially trying to pull your own teeth, getting him to open up and communicate. That it goes into this cycle of where he gives these one-word answers until finally he just shuts down, and she's left getting frustrated trying to talk about the situation, explain how she feels, and the more she explains how she feels, the more he shuts down and his defensive walls come up, until finally she just gets tired of talking and just goes off and lets him go back to his man cave or his office or whatever it is. And I've seen that played out enough to know it's a cycle that for men, it's real easy for us to fall into. I kind of dubbed it the apathy cycle, where it's easier just to kind of try to drown everything out than rather go through the emotional work of dealing with it and expressing how we're actually feeling in the moment and all that stuff. So I want to talk about a few different ways to kind of push through that cycle and break it, because if you don't, that apathy cycle, apathy eventually starts becoming resentment. Once you begin moving into resenting your partner, that's essentially the beginning of the end of your relationship. So when you're in talks with your husband, especially if you're trying to work something out that's important in the family, and he starts falling into this defensive mode where his walls start going up and he starts shutting down emotionally, and you start getting shorter and shorter answers, what do? Well, there's 4 key things that are really easy. You can start to kind of jumpstart his ability to start opening up. Because for guys, it's hard for us to open up. We've kind of been trained to view that as almost showing weakness, showing vulnerability. So it's tough for us, but the first thing you can do is simply asking more open-ended questions, questions that actually put him on the spot a little bit, give him something to think about, and actually have to give a real thought-out response. So like when she asks, how was your day? It was good. That describes it good enough, right? It sucked, it was work. But instead, what if you asked him, hey honey, what was the best part of your day? Then he has to actually think, well, it was work. I went in, I did whatever at the office. Oh, the best part was when, whatever, Joanne from HR came down with a pizza and a bunch of cake or muffins or something, whatever it is. But it gives them something to actually think about, something to actually work towards opening up and describing. And just that simple act can start breaking through those emotional boundaries he has set up, saying, I don't want to talk about my day. I've told you it's good. Leave me alone. Let's get on with our day. And part of that is while he's talking, if he starts opening up, is to do what's called listening actively, or active listening. It kind of became like a catchphrase that went around in the late 90s and the early 2000s psych world. But what it really is essentially is just kind of engaging him to go further into whatever he's talking about. So if he's talking about whatever, Joanne from HR came down with cupcakes and whatever, ask him why. What was it for? Was the company going through some kind of restructuring? Was there some big thing that happened? Just get him to dive a little deeper and explain that, because the more he explains, the more those boundaries, those defensive walls will start peeling away, and he'll be more free in his own head to open up more and more and start talking deeper and deeper about it. And once he actually starts seeing you as a person where you're creating a safe space for him to actually open up and talk about, he'll naturally want to dive a little deeper and a little deeper each time you guys talk. Which, while he's doing that, the third thing you can do is simply try to validate his feelings. This is especially important if you guys are working through an issue. Like when she was saying, anytime she brings up something to work about, he essentially gets defensive. He takes it, I'm guessing, probably as some sort of personal attack against him, against his character. And instead of actually looking at the issue He's saying, well, my side of it isn't being validated, you're attacking me, so I'm gonna shut down. I'm gonna close that off, I'm gonna wall it off, and try to put up this stoic front that says you can't hurt me. And all that is a defense mechanism. But if you can validate his feelings a little bit, if you can say, whatever, he says he doesn't like when you do X, and that's why he's upset. Well, all you have to do, you don't have to change X. Just look at him and let him know that you understand that X actually is something he doesn't like. Honey, I hear you, I understand that when I do X, that's what you're upset about, and I think that's something we can work on. Just simple letting him know that his feelings are actually being heard actually opens him up. It breaks down a lot of those defensive barriers, whereas the moment he feels his feelings are being invalidated, excused, or ignored, all those walls are going to go flying back up again. He's going to shut down faster than ever. So really, you can kind of control how it goes. You can push him along, so to speak. Remember what I said, when it comes to emotionality, men, we're kind of slow. We need a little push. And then finally, the last thing is to share your feelings openly and honestly. If we're with you, we're with you. We want to be with you. We want that life with you. And we need to know what you're thinking about. And especially if he's told you something that it, like for instance, when he's upset about something, if he's upset about X, you validated him being upset about that. Now, let him know how you feel about it. Let him know why you do X, or how X makes you feel. Whatever the situation is, let him know where you're coming from, and try to do it in a way that's not accusatory, but more explanatory. So start with phrases like, I think, I feel, I need, I want. I do X because I feel whatever, bored, and X lets me have fun, or whatever. I make videos because that gives me, I don't know, some sort of emotional validation when I'm talking to other people online about whatever you make videos about. Just do something to share your thoughts, your reasons for why that is an issue or not an issue to you. And then you guys can actually start working through it. You know where he stands, you've let him know he's safe to actually talk about it and express how he feels and where he stands on it. And now you can actually start expressing where you stand on it. And if there's a disagreement, instead of just putting up those defensive barriers and shutting down, he knows that this is a space where you guys can actually start breaking through those boundaries and start working out towards something that's mutually agreeable and mutually beneficial.